We are back. Welcome, everyone. I am Julius, and I am your conductor, your chaperone, your parent to the prom. That prom is definitely Justice League by Zack Snyder. We are on the journey to the Snyder Cut. And as most of you have been watching daily know, I've had plenty of guests, people who are passionate about talking about film, but specifically comic book films. More specifically than that, DC, the DCEU. And I'm here to talk about a very special film with a very special guest. Now, who are you? Who am I speaking to?
Hey, what's going on, Julius? Dude, thanks for having me on. I'm Leo, guys. Welcome. It's good to be here. Good to talk a little bit DCEU, which I think gets a little bit of unfair backlash, so it'll be nice to just talk a little DC, a little positive, talk a little Aquaman, dude. Thank you so much for having me on, man. Like, I'm ready to collab. I'm ready to chat.
Well, you are on the GeeklyGoods podcast on YouTube. You've been doing it for a couple years at this point. And one thing I noticed about your YouTube presence is that you do have this very upbeat energy, positive energy to it. I was kind of taken aback because you were just like so... You obviously have a deep love and you have a lot of fun when talking about this stuff. Right.
Oh, absolutely, man. Like, I just love it. So, yeah, I started GeeklyGoods back in 2018 now. 2018. And it actually started out, I started out blogging first, and then I just started a YouTube channel. And once I started YouTube, I was just like, man, making videos is fun. Like, talking about it is super fun. And for about a year now, I would say, once the pandemic started, I really started picking it up more seriously, and it's just been a fun journey ever since. I mean, I talk latest in movies, Marvel, DC, a little bit of anime, a little bit of gaming, TV shows, and it's just a pleasure, man. Like, I've enjoyed meeting you and Angel over here at the GOAT Movie Podcast. I see you guys making that great content, man. So it's good to be here. It's good to talk a little DCEU, and you know, it's been a ride with the DCEU. I can't lie. There's been some shakes on the ship, but it has still been fun nonetheless. I mean, I would call this one of their better movies, especially after this nice recent rewatch I've had. Dude, it was really good. Like, I actually just watched it this morning in preparation. And I finished it at 1:00, and I was just like, man, what a ride that was.
I really appreciate that. And I got to tell everyone, the reason why I know Leo to be a professional is because, like me, he got himself some tea. He knows that this can do a number on the voice. So of course, we have to, hydrate. I really appreciate everything you said, and I appreciate everything you do. I saw you on the podcast you did about Spider-Man. You had my co-host Angel on, and you also had Real James on, who's a really nice guy who I got talking about Shazam in another video. So look forward to that. You guys were just having you were talking in the way that we all talk about this stuff, about the first Spider-Man film. And I saw that. I was part of that live chat, and I was like, man, I want to talk to this dude. I want to see what's going on with him. And here we are. We're going to talk about the movie you watched today in preparation. Aquaman, with Jason Momoa and a whole bunch of other castmates. Look at this. Look at this picture right here. See? This is all you need to say.
Man, there he is. Our boy.
My man. Man, before we get into the real minutia of this conversation, I just want to say, look at that suit.
So good. I mean, this looks like Aquaman in the comics, and that was one problem I had among many with Justice League, is I was just kind of like, he doesn't look like Aquaman. He doesn't have the trident. Like, what's going on? They said it right. James Wan said, "Fear no more, everybody. We are getting you your Aquaman."
Yeah.
And here he is, man.
Well, you brought up Justice League and Aquaman and Justice League. Obviously, we are leading up to the Snyder Cut, as it were. Establish how you feel about this whole Snyder Cut movement, the film itself. What do you feel about it?
So I gotta admit, man.
Uh-oh.
I'm a Marvel fan. I love my Marvel. And so I was one of the people that thought when Justice League came out and I saw Justice League back in 2017, I thought, okay, this is it. You know, this is the Justice League we got. Little unfortunate. I admit I wasn't a big fan of the movie. So I was a little heartbroken. Heartbroken, man. Having grown up, watched the Justice League cartoons, read some of the comics, and really enjoyed DC as well. It really hurt. So
Yeah.
I done the journey of the DCEU with Aquaman, Shazam, 2 great movies that were just, I was like, wow, they made these movies, but Justice League, what? So when the Snyder Cut was announced, holy smokes, extremely excited. I mean, I went to Fandom and I saw that first trailer, and I gotta admit, I didn't know what to think. I was a little bit mixed about it. I was like, this feels a little weird. But the closer it gets, the more excited I get. And I pick and tease with my friends all the time. I'm like, Marvel's gonna be better. You guys already know Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Oh.
At the same time, I'm still gonna watch and enjoy that Snyder Cut, man, because man, it just felt like a dagger to the back to get that first Justice League. So I am excited to see what Zack is bringing to the table and to see the Justice League, most likely how they were meant to be presented in the movie universe. So I'm excited, man. I can't wait. I always pick on people though. I'm always like, Snyder Cut, whatever. But down to my core, I am definitely so excited, man. Like, I can't wait.
Yeah, well, you brought up that first trailer you saw during DC Fandom, and you weren't 100% certain about it. What was missing?
When I saw the trailer, it kind of looked a lot like the same Justice League. Like, I was like, okay, this looks a lot like the 2017. Not a ton of new scenes. Obviously, Darkseid ended up coming in another teaser, so that got me a little bit more prepared. But when I saw that, I didn't like the Hallelujah. I didn't really like the trailer much because it didn't really have a ton of new footage. So I was just a little, and a couple of friends I had live streamed it with were very disappointed. So the energy rubbed off, and I was just kind of like, not really into it. But as I said, the closer it gets, the more I realize this is going to be a better Justice League than what we got back in 2017. So I am so excited. And I kind of wonder if there's going to be more. And, you know, I do applaud the people who very much pressed for the Snyder Cut, because as we know, this was a movement. This was daily Twitter posts, daily signatures, petitions to get the Snyder Cut. And it finally happened. I mean, HBO Max came out and they did not sleep. They were ready to go. Boom, let's get it going. And I applaud those people. Some of the drama is what it is, but I am still so very excited, man. Like, I admit, I'm excited. I don't even need an early screener or anything. I'm just going to be there as soon as it drops, ready to go, man.
I know. It's funny because I agree in that that first trailer, I was like, okay, well, I was hoping for something new. This last trailer we got showed quite a bit of new stuff. You know, there's a completely different direction. And we will talk a bit more about it by the end of this discussion about how this ties in to the world we have, because we have films post 2017 Justice League. So we're definitely going to get more into that. But there's a lot of Aquaman in these trailers, which obviously is the topic of discussion for this podcast. And I just got to say, when it comes to Aquaman, I wasn't completely sold on Momoa when I first heard him casted. But when I saw more of him, and when I saw him more in his own film, I was like, I said it. I said the word. I said, bruh. Couldn't help it.
My man.
I like, he just was having a lot of fun, and I'm like, you know what? I can loosen up a little bit. I can just, why am I shrugging my shoulders? Let me just, before we get into the conversation about the film itself, I want to establish a little bit about the character. We have the first appearance of Aquaman in comics, which is in More Fun Comics number 73. Ironically, there's a picture of Dr. Fate on the cover, who will be showing up in Black Adam, I believe it is.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So obviously he's been around for a long time, Aquaman. You have a very classic Golden Age cover right here. You got the Spectre in the corner up there. You got Dr. Fate and everything. He's been around for quite a bit. And then when Aquaman started becoming more prominent within our pop culture, you couldn't help but bring up a lot of the jokes that have been made about Aquaman in pop culture. Let me just show this funny picture I found. I mean, obviously, there are plenty of places to make funny and jokes that are funny about Aquaman. How did you feel about Aquaman before his cinematic debut?
Oh man, I mean, I loved Aquaman. It's like I discussed with you before the cast. I loved Aquaman in that Justice League cartoon, and I also loved him in that classic orange and green that he's got on there. But you're right, he has been a character that's been kind of, poked fun at. Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy from SpongeBob. Complete ripoff of Aquaman. So he's had his journey through pop culture, but I've always really liked the character. And I remember back in middle school and early high school, people would always make fun of Aquaman.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he just talks to fish. How was that helpful with Superman and super strong? And you got Wonder Woman and Flash can run. And I'm like, come on, don't make fun of Aquaman. And he actually, I would fair to say him and Batman actually had the better New 52 runs. I didn't really read a lot of New 52, but if I read any of them, it was the Aquaman run, a little bit of that, and also some of the Batman runs. And they had the better runs because I wasn't a huge New 52 fan, but I did like those runs.
I completely agree because, I think Scott Snyder wrote Batman, the main Batman book in the New 52.
Yep.
And you had Jeff Johns, who did his own Aquaman book with Ivan Rice doing a lot of the artwork, which this is an excerpt from.
I noticed.
Which I really like this book a lot. I did kind of fall off a little bit as the art changed because I love this artwork. It was this and Batman for you when it came to New 52, right?
Yeah. Those were the two New 52 prominent ones. A little bit of Shazam as well, but man, I really like that Aquaman run.
Yeah. Well, I definitely feel the influence of this run specifically on the film we got. I mean, you get the trench in there, you get Mara's powers very much influenced by the artwork in this book. You just get it all. And Jeff Johns is obviously producer, so he's like, okay, you're going to do it this way. This is how you do it. This is how you make the movie work.
Just like my book.
Just like my book. Or, wait, Rebirth, it's coming soon? All right, let me write everything I can in the Aquaman book. One thing I wanted to bring up that I thought was really funny when I was just looking up Aquaman jokes. This is where...
Oh, man. Oh no, Aquaman!
Damn surface dwellers and your Pepsi. I'm telling you, this I thought was really funny, and you can't help but see some of the jokes on Family Guy. Which back when I was a kid, I dug Aquaman, and I was like, "Curse you, Family Guy! You don't know."
You don't know what this character can do, man.
You don't know. He can summon the Kraken. Let's get the Kraken. Which I think actually did happen later on in the Aquaman series by Jeff Johns.
Every time the Kraken appears, you just know this is Aquaman right here, baby. Oh my God.
Oh man. And one thing I also got to bring up. I just have to bring up. I don't know if you've ever watched Entourage, Leo, but there was a point in Entourage where they made they made a series arc where it was James Cameron directing an Aquaman film with the main character Vincent Chase as Aquaman, and it grossed it was the highest grossing film of all time. And I felt like this was a more good spirited joke. But obviously taking some fun at Aquaman because it's like, oh, Aquaman's going to make all the money in the world cinematically. Oh, yeah, okay. But then, reality kind of imitated art a little bit when his movie came out,
Holy smoke. So I didn't know about this. I totally thought that this was the Aquaman pilot that came out alongside Smallville.
Oh, with Justin Hartley?
Yeah. That one episode pilot, man.
Yeah.
Didn't make it too far.
Oh my God, I forgot about that, dude. That's hilarious. It's funny that it was okay. So we have Smallville, where Justin Hartley's Green Arrow over here. We have Alan Richardson or Richson as Aquaman. Let's get another show with Green Arrow starring as Aquaman.
It's Aquaman. Like what?
I don't know what you're talking about. I like Justin Hartley, but I think he works perfectly. Did you watch Smallville?
Not a lot.
Okay.
I've watched a couple episodes, but I knew about him being the Green Arrow.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever see any of it? Oh man, Leo, dude, he is actually great. I think as Green Arrow, like gets the wit down, the charm, and Alan Ritchson, who's a Hawk on Titans right now, and was Raphael in the most recent Turtles films, plays Aquaman, and he's pretty good in it as well. So that's a recommendation. Do your homework, man. Come on.
Ah, man, I don't know if I can do Smallville. You know how long that is. Woo-wee. How many seasons is that? About 12?
It's 10.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I actually did that during quarantine, and when it first started, quarantine was first starting. I was like, you know what? I got Hulu. Smallville's here. Angels told me about it. Let's do this.
That's some dedication right there, man.
Yeah. Well, I love Superman.
I hear it, bro. I hear. I did that a couple years ago with the Arrowverse. Got all caught up. Like,
what
shows? I went through Arrow, went through Flash, Legends of Tomorrow. That was back when Legends was in season 2. So I think this is like 3 seasons ago. But that's back when Legends was in season 2. I went all the way through all of them.
Damn.
Kind of saw the downfall.
Well, hey, man, at least we got Superman and Lois now. I mean,
yeah. What you think, man? What are you thinking of that so far?
I wish I was wearing a jacket and a Superman shirt underneath. That's how I feel. Season 1, episode 3 coming out soon.
Can't wait, man. It's good so far.
So, Aquaman. Of course. Let's talk about the premise of the film. Obviously, it's not too complicated. After the battle with Steppenwolf, the reluctant hero Arthur Curry is approached by Mara of Atlantis, who asks him to come to his home under the sea to challenge his brother Orin for the crown before an all-out war begins between the oceans and the surface. So they're obviously taking in a lot of elements from different comic runs, one of which was Throne of Atlantis? Was that one of them? I don't
recall. I wish I knew more Aquaman comics.
Okay, that was Throne of it was Throne of Atlantis in New 52, where it was this event where it was the Atlanteans invading. Aquaman had to work with the Justice League to broker peace.
Man, I remember that.
Oh yeah, and the artwork is pretty stellar in that book, so I recommend that to anyone listening. If you want to see a cool Aquaman story, there you go. So what do you think about when you hear, okay, we're getting the surface versus the Earth people. Aquaman's getting the throne. He's challenging for the throne. What do you think about when you hear that?
Oh man, I like it because this is Aquaman's story, and that's where I was confused in Justice League. I was like, all right, what are we doing here? Because I didn't know where he was in his journey.
Right.
Until about mid-movie, and then I was like, okay, when he had that kind of small piece with Mira, which it was kind of weird in the movie where it seemed like she was a surprise presence a little bit. Like it kind of almost felt like a first interaction in the movie, but they had interacted before. But I mean, this makes sense for Aquaman's story a lot more than throwing him in the Justice League. I kind of thought Aquaman should have came before Justice League. He should have been the king already, but yeah, man, I was ecstatic. I mean, as soon as I heard about the Aquaman movie, a lot of people were like, really, Aquaman? I'm like, yeah, Aquaman.
Yeah.
I'm ready to go.
I'm ready to go as well. I feel like this story works very well. I watched your review and you brought up how it was very similar to something like The Lion King or Kimbo the White Lion, which was the basis for The Lion King. And I thought that was a really good point, because we've seen elements of like Hamlet in storytelling since Shakespeare's time, obviously. And I felt like that's a very different but cool direction to go with when it comes to this character. It reminded me a lot of Thor and Black Panther in some of the story elements. Yeah,
It's
okay.
very much and why it's related to Lion King, and that was a good point to bring up both Thor and Black Panther, is because you have the responsibility of being a monarch bestowed upon somebody who, in Aquaman's case, he doesn't think he even deserves it. So people like Simba and Thor definitely are just not at the age and wisdom to where they could be a king.
Mhm.
Whereas Aquaman doesn't even believe he deserves to have the crown, doesn't even want the crown,
Yeah.
but he still has this large responsibility to get it in order to unite the sea and the land.
Yeah.
A war that has been going on for centuries that has to be stopped. So it's such a cool, like, just such a cool story to follow
Mhm.
some guy who just feels like an outsider, feels like he doesn't belong there, but is the king of the sea. He is born with that birthright through his
Yeah.
mother. And it was so cool. I like the monologue at the beginning and the end. My mother and father were never supposed to meet, but
Mhm.
their love saved the world.
Yeah.
What a cool premise, man.
Yeah. Well, I love that the story really is about potential, because
Mhm.
Arthur does have the potential to unite the rest of the world with the oceans in a way that, I mean, obviously we do take advantage of the ocean, in real life, dumping stuff. There are plenty of whales that could just be cool, but they are a product at certain points of the world. I mean, I love that this is about potential, and unity in that way. It reminds me a lot of the potential and that was brought into Black Panther, where Black Panther is very Wakanda, Black Panther, the nation. Wakanda is a place of self-isolation. Cuts itself off from the rest of the world, and kind of looks down on the rest of civilization everywhere else. I mean, but which is fair when you look at their civilizations, like, wow, that's actually pretty nice. And I like that Atlantis is kind of like that, except it is more militant. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
How
Yeah.
do you feel about that?
Yeah, they got the military might, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And what I really like about this movie is, just like Black Panther, it feels self-contained, and that's something that I applaud DC for in their films. They actually self-contain their stories a lot more than Marvel does, because Marvel always kind of has the needle in the haystack every movie, where there's characters connected, up to this point, you get references from so many movies, and that's cool and all. Don't get me wrong, I love the
Yeah.
MCU. But what I like about DC is, and especially this movie, is just it stays focused on Aquaman's story.
Mhm.
And it stays focused in Atlantis. He's not jumping on a phone call with Batman. Like, there's really no interaction with any other Justice League character in this film.
Mhm.
And that's what I love so much about it, is that we can focus on Arthur and his personal journey to overcome his doubts and become the king of Atlantis, the king of the seas, yo.
Yeah.
And Atlantis looks so beautiful.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
they did a hell of a job on Atlantis, even just down to the details of the flowy hair while they're underwater, and the tech and how beautiful it looks. Marvel did a great job with Wakanda, and DC did a fantastic job here with Atlantis. It looks believable. It looks real. And it
Yeah.
just flows so well. The colors are wonderful with all the bright greens and purples and blues. You feel like you're in an actual place when you're watching the movie. You're just like, holy smokes, like, does this exist? Let me go dive in the ocean real quick, because I need to see this for myself.
I will risk being crushed by the increasing pressure.
I sure will.
Yeah, just to get a glimpse of that light. You bring up the Marvel stuff. This is a quick side note, but Atlantis does look beautiful. But I'm very curious how Marvel's going to approach Atlantis when it comes to Namor.
Yeah.
I'm very curious if it's going to be similar to this, or if it's going to be a stark contrast. Whether it's something more apocalyptic, a bit more dark, a bit more horrific. You know what I mean? Because I need to see Namor like ASAP.
Yeah, I need Namor to be ready. It would be ideal if he was in Black Panther 2, I think.
Yeah.
Or at least later now, if they want to do a Black Panther 3 or a series, he's got to pop up in Black Panther.
Oh
Like,
my God. As I would be completely down. I know he fought in World War II with the invaders and everything, but I'd be down if he was a straight up bad guy in this, dude.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, him either being in Black Panther 2 or the villain of that Fantastic Four film. I mean, on God.
We need Namor. I feel like Namor is just cooler as a villain. Like,
Yeah.
give us a villain. We already got Aquaman over on DC. He was rolling with Aquaman. Aquaman 2 will come out soon. So excited. Namor, make him evil. Just
yeah.
Marvel. Go for it.
We got good Atlantis over here, and now we got evil Atlantis over here.
Yes.
Good. Let's do it, man. But yeah, you brought up how this is a self-contained story, which is one of the stronger elements of it. And it actually does feed into Aquaman's character, the fact that he's not calling anyone else and everything. And that was where I was really worried about the casting and what I saw in Justice League, because he was very much like Aqua Bro-ish a bit. Which isn't really what we've seen in terms of the comics, in terms of this or that. But that the him being a loner is very Aquaman, you know, him being dedicated to Atlantis is very Aquaman, you know, and I just feel like that strengthens his place for that he's not calling Batman, you know, like, could you help me out? Like, no, dude, I'm here. I'm enough, right? I rule most of the planet, right? In the second film, I need him to show up to the UN and be like, where's my spot?
Right. I mean, seriously, like in that second film, he's got to be Aquaman as we know him, because at this point we've had the origin story. We've had the doubtful adult who became the stoic king. He's got to be showing up like, I'm Aquaman, bro. Like,
yeah.
And that was what bothered me a little bit about Justice League with his character, like the bro stuff. I was like, all right, hold on. Like, Aquaman is a stoic king-like character. Like, he is a monarch. Like, when Aquaman comes around, people are like, my king, like, he is a monarch.
Yeah.
At the sense of the word, at the deepest sense of the word. So I'm like, he needs to come up, have that trident ready to go like he did in the movie.
Yeah.
And let's talk, y'all. Like, they're going to see that's something funny they can play off in Justice League too, is be like, homie grew up. Like,
yeah. But like, Flash tries to make a joke. It's like, I'm not that kind of guy anymore, bro. What's so funny?
He just stamps the trident in the ground.
Well, one thing you brought up in your review, which I thought was a really interesting point, was how, and I think it was something your friend had told you, that you found that Jason Momoa gave a much more humbling performance than in Justice League 2017. Could you expand on what you meant by that? Because I do think that's interesting.
Because I think in the 2017, it was just kind of this, and that also is due to not exploring the character enough. Right. But just the impact he had on me from that 2017 was very bro-ish, very surfer dude, very like, and a little cockiness.
Right.
And it was just kind of like, this isn't very Aquaman. This isn't very him. Versus where in this we get to see self-doubts. We get to see him have, right before he gets the trident, him have that conversation with the sea creature saying, I might not be fit for the king, but I'm who this world needs. Yeah. And it was just like, holy crap. Like, that's somebody who wasn't like, you know, the bro we got in the last movie at all.
Yeah, right.
Like, you know, he wasn't like, well, I have the right to the trident. It's me. No, he was very much like, I need to do this because I believe in love in my people. Yeah. And that was just so, like I said, humbling. Because it's somebody who doesn't even view themselves as a monarch, as somebody that deserves to sit on the throne even, but they just want to protect their family, and they want to be exactly what his mother said they needed, a hero. And it was just a much better performance. I mean, man, that 2017 Justice League, it didn't really get the characters correct with anybody. Right.
Well, how do you think it'll differ in the Snyder Cut? Because that's obviously set before this Aquaman film, and it's that similar period, but there are going to be different events taking place near the end, obviously. How do you think his personality will differ. Will it be more aqua bro-ish, or just more of the stoic type of personality?
I think it could be a blend of both, and I
Mhm.
think it could potentially give us a little bit of explanation as to why he was that way, because I kind of took it as he might have even been a little bit younger and just a little
Right.
less experienced. So he kind of maybe showed a different personality with the Justice League than he would with anyone else.
Mhm.
And so that's what I'm very excited to explore in this movie, is like Aquaman before, like the actual Aquaman before his movie. Like, give us a little bit of how he got where he was. Like, I mean, we just didn't get anything in that movie from him besides that little piece with Mira. Like, I want to see a little bit more of that if we can. I want
Yeah.
to see like where he came from. But obviously I know, but I want to see from that perspective.
Mhm.
I just want to see a little bit more about his character, who he is. Just give us a little, and I think Zach will give us some more, because I mean it's going to be 4 hours, so I'm assuming we'll get a little bit more.
I would be mad as hell if he didn't do any of that with a 4-hour movie, dude.
Right? Like, I need some origin stories with Arthur, Barry. I know we're gonna get some more Cyborg.
Oh, you
it's
have
like,
to.
we got to get some more from them, because I mean, what came out before Justice League? Wonder Woman, Man of Steel, and BVS.
And Suicide Squad.
Yep, and Suicide Squad, and nobody else in the Justice League was explored. So
Yeah.
give us some more.
Give me something good, man.
Yeah.
You brought up that sea monster when she was talking all that mess to Arthur. Funny enough, I learned quite later that sea monster was voiced apparently by Julie Andrews.
Really?
Yeah, I was shocked when I heard that. I was like, Mary Poppins?
Right. I didn't even put two and two together. Wow, that's awesome.
I mean, speaking about this cast, right? You got insane. Like, let's list off some of the cast members. You got Jason Momoa, Willem Dafoe, Patrick Wilson, what was it? Dolph Lundgren,
Nicole Kidman, Tamora Morrison. I'm like, you just got a stacked up cast.
You won. Thank
Yeah.
you.
I mean, I compare the other ones, the other films, and I'm like, they didn't have the star power that Aquaman did.
Right.
Like, yeah. I want to, it's just like every character in Aquaman was just like somebody who was very known.
Yeah. And it's amazing that it was Aquaman. That they were like, yeah, let's all go for that one.
Right. It wouldn't be like Wonder Woman, or I mean, and even Momoa himself, you know him as Khal Drogo from Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
So like, even he brings a little bit of star power to this, and it's just like, dude, you've got him, Kidman, Dafoe, that right there, Patrick Wilson. Like, those are some big names.
Yeah,
it's
big talents.
Like, man, and Shazam, not even Shazam. Like, none of the other ones really have that just gravitas of star power in it. It's just so powered. And I wish we got a little bit more Will Dafoe, but Aquaman 2.
Yeah, Aquaman 2. The Snyder cut, he's in there.
Yep.
Willem Dafoe with his crazy ass face. I need it.
And that bun, bro.
That bun. I was surprised, man. I was actually
and Yahya Abdul-Mateen.
Oh, dude, don't even get me
Black
started.
Manta. So good.
Dr. Manhattan. Dr. Manhattan and Night Owl 2 were working together again in Aquaman.
Ooh. Fantastic.
See, I haven't seen the movie in a while, so I can only imagine how you're starting to feel just having watched it like an hour ago or so, you know?
I needed a fresh run too, because I recall seeing it before and I was like, it's good, but it's not my favorite. Now I'm kind of like, I might need to reconsider this list, because that was really good.
Oh, I mean, my goodness.
Such a great exploration of a character. And I know I said it earlier, but it's just so well self-contained.
Yeah. And it's ironic because it's all over the world, you know?
Right. You would think he could potentially pop in a Wonder Woman or Flash, or nope. They're like, this is strictly an Aquaman story.
Yeah.
No bumping into anybody.
Thank you. Thank you for doing so. You
Yeah.
proved it. You proved him.
And is it one of the high? Yeah, it grossed a billy.
Yeah, no, it was unbelievable. You know how much this movie just won. You know, I mean, there were critics that were like, I don't know about it. It's kind of this and that, you know. But like, the fact that it made that much money, an Aquaman movie made that much money, is kind of unbelievable. It's the Matrix.
You told me that 20 years ago that an Aquaman movie would gross over $1 billion. I would not believe you at all.
Yeah. You tell me to go back to the comic store. Okay, yeah. Go.
Right.
Why don't you start investing in Aquaman and buy more of those comics? Maybe one day. One day. But you brought up Mr. Yaya, and we got to talk about Black Manta up in this. I mean, I was actually excited because the look of it, first of all, I couldn't believe that they actually did this look. A look that is iconic but silly in comics when you try to, conceive it in real life. They made it work. They even show the original like design for the helmet in the film. It's there. And it's put that on. I'm fine with just that, right? It's kind of like seeing an Endgame, the Ant-Man helmet with Michael Douglas in the background. It's like,
yeah.
Oh my God. This casting I thought was great. What was the actor's name again?
Yahya Abdul-Mateen.
Oh, okay. Phenomenal performance, phenomenal actor. He was in an episode of Black Mirror that I thought was really interesting where, did you ever see this episode where it was this virtual relationship he had with Anthony Mackie? And like they're both playing this fighter game. And then they just develop this romantic relationship through it.
It doesn't exist outside of the game.
Yeah. And Anthony Mackie's character is married. He has a family and everything, but he uses this game as an affair, a possible exit point for affair. Very fascinating stuff. And he's great in that episode. He was in the Watchmen series on HBO as Dr. Manhattan.
So good.
Yeah. This guy is a rising talent, I think. What did you think of him in Aquaman?
Loved. So that was one thing they really did well was Black Manta, the suit, the laser beams from the eyes. But what they really got right was the personality and the hate for Aquaman. Yeah. He loathes Aquaman at all times. His sole mission is always to take down Aquaman, no matter what media is in, whether that's Justice League, Young Justice, any of the comics. He wants to take down Aquaman, and he was just absolutely bloodthirsty.
Yeah.
And part of you could see where he was coming from. The thing about villains is they always, whatever their motive is, it's always just over the top. Because, I mean, if he wasn't a villain, he could have just said, dude, let's talk.
Yeah.
I feel like you're responsible for killing my father. But when I rewatched it, because before this rewatch, I was kind of like, ooh, he kind of did. But I mean, it was his dad who shot at him and the ocean came through. And then he just said, pray to the ocean that this doesn't take you guys away. Man, it was just what a moment that was between him and his father and him just swearing to kill Aquaman. And those little moments where Patrick Wilson's Ocean Master is trying to work with him. And he's just like, I don't need this gold. I don't need any rewards. My reward is killing Aquaman. His sole motive is to kill Aquaman. And I love that they touch on that this rivalry has been in his family lineage and that the battle between his family and the sea has carried on for so long. It's such a great character. And Yahya Abdul just killed it. Absolutely killed it. And man, when Aquaman gets rid of him and then we get that post credit, he's ready to go.
Yeah.
He's about to be back, ready in Aquaman 2, which, and it was a little concerning at first before seeing the movie because it's like, dang, you bring in two of Aquaman's biggest, where are you going to go after that? But I like that there was a little involvement, only a little bit of involvement in with Black Manta here, because then it's like you can bring him back. He can be the next big bad, or he can even keep popping up in the movies, which that's a mistake Marvel tends to make is they bring the villain and then boom, they're killed or disposed of immediately. I like the notion of a villain that always comes back. And that's what's so good about this Black Manta appearance is it is quick. It is one scene where he uses the eyes, but we're going to get more of him. He's coming back.
Oh my God. That excites me. One of my favorite, I'll say one of my, cause there are a couple different ones, but one of my favorite scenes in the film is the opening where you do see the birth, as it were, of Black Manta. A very heartbreaking scene, you know, because of all the you see a lot of the relationship between him and his father in such a short little piece, but it's very effective because I mean, Aquaman, he's pretty cold in that moment, you know, he just lets them die, you know, it's like, yeah, sure, you got a shot to live and everything, but I'm not betting on it. I'm not betting on you're surviving this. And yeah, I mean, I love the rapport he had with his father in that moment where he's like, no, you need to live so you can kill that son of a bitch. And I'm like, I'm kind of down with this cat. Like, can it be about him?
Right? Can we get a Black Manta movie? Like,
yeah. I mean, they did announce a couple years ago, they're working on like a Trench spinoff, a spinoff about the Trench, like a horror technique.
Yeah, I had heard about that.
Make that about Black Manta. Like, oh, like that would be phenomenal, man.
Oh my God. And you get James Wan back on that. Oh my God. Like a horror master already. Like, boom, just throw him right on that.
yeah. He's absolutely a beast. Yaya is a beast. Black Manta was crazy. I love that suit. I love I love the sequences where you see him building and testing out the weaponry.
Yeah.
You know, it reminded me a lot of the first Iron Man film, where you get to see in the caves him build. Tony Stark built this in a cave with a box of scraps. You know, I love those sequences, man.
Stain, what another villain, an example of a villain who I thought, wow, what a cool villain.
Jeff Bridges as a super villain? The dude? Oh my God. I actually recently rewatched Big Lebowski, and I'm like, I love this, but I still can't believe Jeff Bridges was a warmonger.
I know, right?
Ironmonger, is that what he's called?
Yeah, who would think he would become Ironmonger and Iron Man? Like, holy smokes.
Incredible work, Tony! Oh man, speaking of villains, of main antagonists, right? I have to bring up Patrick Wilson as Ocean Master. Look at this shot. Enough said. Enough said. This costume is the costume from comic books. One thing I love about this film that is reflected within the costume work, which we will get into more so after this, I love that it doesn't take itself that seriously. You know, it's not like this whole, like this super dramatic thing. There are obviously stakes, but they have the color, they have the costumes, they have the crazy music. I think they have Pitbull play in one moment of the movie. Yeah. You know, like Aquaman has fun. He's like, redheads, am I right? Yeah. You know?
When they clash and the water just like splashes the audience and they like look at each other and they look back and they're just like, yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. And it's reflected completely with Ocean Master. So what did you think about Ocean Master in the film? He's got his problems. He has hatred for Aquaman. What did you think about him?
So on my first watch, I thought, and by the way, this recent watch is like my second watch of Aquaman. So I hadn't even seen Aquaman since back when it came out. But when I first saw it, I was like, really? Patrick Wilson? I don't know. Like, But on this recent rewatch, I was like, man, just like Black Manta, he had a gripping hate for Arthur, man. And what I liked about their dynamic is that even when they were at each other's throat and he was ready to battle Aquaman steps forward to him and says, wow, I remember learning that I had a little brother and I really looked forward to getting to know him. Like, and it was just like, there's that opposite dynamic right there. Somebody who just actually cares about his brother and how hateful and vengeance driven he's become versus Ocean Master, who was just bent on ridding the world of him. I mean, just step aside. I'm the king. I'm the one true ruler.
Yeah.
And another example of a villain whose intentions may be pretty understandable, but they just take it way too far.
Yeah.
Instead of approaching things with diplomacy and with actual conversation and trying to find a solution, he was just ready to go to war with the surface. Like, just
Yeah.
And then
Let's
it's
go.
just like, wow. I mean, Patrick Wilson did a great job. I like the suit. I don't love it though. I kind of wish that it was just maybe a little updated. I know, because it does look like it looks exactly like the comic book suit. It does. It looks exactly like it. Something about Black Manta and Aquaman suit just really work. Yeah. I don't know what it was about Ocean Master. Maybe it was the headpiece for me. But I was just like, I don't know. I wish there was just a little bit of a modern update.
Well, it did feel very kind of CG in the way that the others did, you know?
Yeah. I think you hit the nail right on the head there. The others felt authentic and they felt like an actual suit and a believable suit. And then I think for me, it was just the headpiece, the chest, everything else was fine. It was just the headpiece looked a little too CGI. And I would have liked maybe it could have been a little less shiny. I don't know. It was just throwing me off a little bit. But I think Ocean Master himself, really cool performance.
Yeah.
Great performance by Patrick Wilson. I mean, that's exactly who Ocean Master is.
Yeah, that's who he is.
He calls him the half-breed. He believes he's the supreme because he is the full blood. Like it's perfect. It was perfect.
Straight up bigot.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, I'm like, this guy hates Arthur, man. But one thing that I thought maybe just one little detail, he wasn't really as shocked that he had the trident. And I was kind of like, wouldn't he kind of be like blown aback at the fact that like Arthur, the half-breed, has the trident? Like I kind of thought that was maybe one opportunity, but it's small, very small detail. Yeah. Just some kind of like shock or like, what, you have the trident, like you like, but it didn't seem like that was really in his plan anyway. So
yeah, and that fool can't talk to fish. See, this is where talking to fish comes in handy. All right, you get to rule the ocean.
Yeah, he just like Aquaman when he confronts the sea creature. He's just like, the sea creature's like, you can understand me.
I know, right? Like a pivotal, dramatic point. Like he's about to die, but the joke saved him.
Right? Like, wait, what? You can understand me, huh?
And you brought up that headpiece, how it didn't look too, convincing. I agree, but I'm gonna go to the beach in a couple of weeks, and I will be wearing that headpiece when I go into the water. So.
It'll look better on you, man.
It'll be made out of tinfoil. Man, one thing I want to bring up was that Ocean Master is obviously the brother and mortal enemy of Arthur, someone who's a victim of the stagnant rules and views that Atlantis imposes on their young. And like we mentioned, he has a deep hatred for surface dwellers, which is then transferred to Arthur. That's what they call him, Aqua Arthur. But he does bring up some points that do make him a compelling villain, I think. Mm-hmm. The treatment of the ocean, oil spillages, pollution. What are Earthlings doing to our planet? Like our people are dying, they're being poisoned, they're being killed, like diseases are happening down here, This is not good. We have to do something. And yeah, like what did he say that was wrong? I mean, his execution is questionable at best. But he really did remind me of Eric Killmonger in Black Panther, where he was bringing up all these valid points of contention with people. But by the end of the day, Killmonger wanted to start a race war. And what's his name? Ocean Master wanted to cause genocide, so it does make you feel certain ways that are like, oh man, what am I? God.
Right, like I want to side with you, but man, you just take it too far.
You're just a dick.
They always have a really, really great villain. Mm-hmm. Always has a good motivation, but a horrible execution. There's always this motive that you can understand. It's as you were saying, the ocean is being tainted. There's the scene towards the beginning of the movie where that tank is just flying through, and it's like, yo, that potentially killed tons of sea life.
Yeah.
And he just like wrecks through it, and you understand a little bit where he's coming from, why it's the way it is, but it's just like, it's just too far. Just like with Killmonger, it's like he came with the motive to share the resources with the world, which they did need to do. The world needed those resources, needed the valuable technology and knowledge and wisdom that Wakanda had to offer. But he wanted to take it too far and cause a race war. And it's just like, it's that execution, man, that they just always go over the top. But a good villain always does have a understandable motive. I won't always say a good motive, but an understandable one.
Yeah, well, I mean, one of my favorite lines in Black Panther was when he was in charge and he told, "Yo, Wakabi, get rid of this fool." Like, one of
Get rid of this fool.
he said something along the lines of that. He brought like Oakland to Wakanda at that point. I was like,
Hey,
yeah,
auntie.
Hey, auntie, yeah. Oh my god, I love Killmonger. So yeah, Ocean Master, chill, bruh. We'll figure it out. One thing that we brought up slightly, which is phenomenal when it comes to this film, one of the most beautiful parts of the film, in my opinion, are the costumes. My God,
Absolutely.
just look at this. Look at this. That's incredible. That's incredible. I could definitely feel the comic influence of there, but there are certain costumes and pieces that people wear that reminds me a little bit of Lord of the Rings. Like some of the guards would wear these chest pieces of armor and stuff, helmets. How did you feel about this?
Loved, man. I mean, just Aquaman and Mira, those costumes are straight out of the comic books, man.
Yeah.
Like they're another really good thing that Aquaman does. They just got these costumes extremely accurate. And what's crazy is, they modernize the colors a little bit. They're a little more muted in tone, like they're not as bright as they would be in, say, a 60s run of Aquaman as opposed to now. But they just look so believable and so convincing, and they're just so well done. I mean, look at those little scales on Aquaman's armor and the gloves, the cool like crystallized gauntlet that comes out of the gloves. So cool. Yeah. Mira with the onesie. It looks really good with the the Atlantis logo in the middle. It's awesome, man. I mean, they just did a hell of a job with these costumes. And also even with Black Manta, like we saw earlier, great costume. They all look comic book accurate, and they all look heavily inspired by the comics. And when I saw Jason Momoa's Aquaman in that, I was like, 90s Aquaman, baby, here we are. This is it right here. Yeah. Hook hand, that's all you need, my man. You got the long hair, got the beard and mustache. All you need is the hook hand, and you pretty much had the exact same look as that Aquaman. He was shirtless a lot of the time, but very accurate look here.
Yeah, you had me at onesie. Yeah, this is incredible. This is probably some of my favorite costuming in comic book films since something like the original Spider-Man, which I think is probably one of the most insane comic book costumes to bring to the
still the film. Best Spidey costume, man.
Yeah,
that first one. Still.
Yeah, I mean, my God, that especially for the time that it came out, because you had the X-Men movies coming out at that time, where it's like, you want a yellow leotard? I mean. They did Aquaman, man. You're not going to give me Wolverine or Cyclops or anything? Come on now. I feel like this further explains visually as to why comic book films should be, when it's good enough, should be nominated for best costuming at the Oscar. Like, why has that not happened, right? Because it's literally the idea of taking something from a page, visualizing it, and adapting it for real life. And some of the costumes that they have given us in these movies, incredible, dude. Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, like you brought, or we both elaborated on. I'm the one that I need to see in the future, and that Aquaman gave me hope for seeing, is Mr. Miracle and Big Barda.
Oh my God. Yes. That would be accurate. Dang it. Like, oh my God, it'll look so good.
Yeah. I mean, what? Yeah. How do you feel? Do you think that they should be nominated more often? And what's an example that you think should have been in the past?
Yeah, I definitely think so, because I mean, mainstream movie going is comic book films.
Right.
And I actually thought it was a good idea, and definitely a hot take, because people were up in arms about it. But when they released the popular movie category in the Oscars, when they were going to roll with that, and then they rescinded that option, I thought, what a great way to just celebrate the actual movies that people are going to see. And that's
Right.
not to say that the films at the Oscars aren't seen movies, because remember, Black Panther had a hell of a sweep back in 2018.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like movies like Mission Impossible, Infinity War, what else was up for that year? And I don't think Aquaman was.
In 2018?
Yeah, it was
Spider-Verse.
So yeah, I think that was animated, so that wasn't but it was like a popular movie category, and they had some films up there, and I was like, okay, like this is, if it's one award, it could say okay, the popular or the blockbuster movie category. I thought that was a brilliant idea. I'm one of the only, but I thought it was such a good idea to say, hey, these are those box office busters that people got. Which one was like the coolest produced and most well-rounded film out of all of them?
Yeah, that's a great point you bring up, how that yes, this is the movie. It's one of the many movies that are keeping movie theaters, or were keeping movie theaters alive at the time, you know, and they obviously are getting fairly compensated money-wise. Obviously, they're making the most money, but and I hate to say this, but something like Romy by Alfonso Cuarón isn't keeping theaters open.
Yeah.
You know?
And Roma, it was on Netflix.
Roma, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. And you got to ask yourself, it's like, have more people seen The Favorite or Shazam?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's kind of like, that's why I like that popular movie category, because it does it would have talked about the popular films that, okay, here's this category where people actually know most of the movies. So if people did tune into the Oscars, they would say, finally, some movies I've seen. Like, because a lot of the time people don't watch the Oscars because it is, unfortunately, for the broad movie-going audience, movies they haven't seen. You know, on a release weekend when you got The Favorite, and this is just hypothetical, but you got The Favorite, Roma, and Shazam all showing. Everybody's going to Shazam.
Right.
And that's not to say the other two movies aren't brilliant. They are, but that's just a popular blockbuster movie. And it got so much backlash. They said, nope, forget it.
Well, I think people on the outside of the Hollywood scene probably feel that there is a disdain amongst like Academy members and stuff towards those genre films. Which is unfortunate, because those are the ones that are keeping the movie theater business going, you know. Primarily, it's unfortunate that there's that disdain. I know there's the criticism, oh, there's nothing to it. I mean, we all saw what Martin Scorsese said in 2019. But there's a complete balance, I feel like. And an example of that balance was Joker of that year, right? Comic book movie, but was appreciated by a lot of cinephiles, you know. But all I'm asking for are costumes, all right? That's all I'm asking for. I'm not asking for best picture or best cinema or whatever. Costumes? Captain America?
I mean, it's just like it's like Cap. I mean, any Iron Man, any of the MCU movies, you could just say, hey, this could be not Guardians of the freaking Galaxy.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just like any, and you had Suicide Squad win, and I was, I understood why, but I was just like, man, Aquaman, Black Panther, all these films, they didn't, but Suicide Squad did. It's just honestly, most of the comic book movies that are in the top or upper tier could totally be nominated for costuming.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
At least a nomination.
At least. I'm not even asking for the win.
Right. Just a nomination. They typically will squeeze into VFX. So it's like, come on.
Right. Yeah. Come on now. Come on. What? The Danish girl is going to take over Aquaman? Come on now. I mean, Django Unchained is a different story. I like the costumes in Django Unchained.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
I love that blue piece
movie. Any Tarantino movie, man. I love the costumes.
Yeah. See that we know. Imagine the one that breaks through is actually if they make a Plastic Man movie, and it's Plastic Man, and he's in that same jumpsuit, and he gets an Oscar nom. I mean, yes, I'm okay with that.
We made it, baby. We made it.
Plastic Man. Let's make it. And also for visual effects, because Plastic Man has to like turn himself into stuff. Yeah. You Leo knows. That's why he's here. One thing I wanted to bring up, a very cinematic quality to Aquaman. We were talking about the Oscars. One thing that is huge at the Oscars is cinematography, and my goodness, Here we are. Here we are. Let me show you
Oh
right now
God.
some of the shots we got here. Please. Yes. Yeah.
Oh
So
my God.
so these are just some of the shots in Aquaman. I have the name of the cinematographer. I think he is Don Burgess, I believe his name is, the director of photography on the film. What do you feel when you see these images? You saw them in motion today. So how were you feeling just looking at the movie?
Oh my God, gorgeous, man. Gorgeous. Look at this. I mean, just it's like, gosh, that trident is gorgeous, and King Atlan standing over all the Atlanteans, and just what a beautiful shot. I mean, that's something that reminds you of Lord of the Rings right there. Oh my goodness. And even the bottom left one.
Oh yeah.
That one very much screams James Wan.
Yeah.
Like that, and the trench as well, very James Wan. And what was cool in this movie is totally James Wan stamp. There were jump scares. There were jump scares in Aquaman. I mean, seriously, Nicole Kidman, Tamara Morrison, and of course, a young Aquaman, they're sitting on the couch, and all of a sudden, guards from Atlantis bust into the room, and it's like, what? Like, that's a jump scare right there. It is just shot so magnificently. That scene with the trench, with the one light going down, all
my God,
creatures following them,
phenomenal,
gorgeous.
Yeah, that was actually one of my other favorite scenes, where it did turn into a one horror film.
Yeah,
you know, the trench is just, and they're probably more frightening than they are in that book that Jeff Johns wrote, and they're pretty, disturbing in that. But I love that the way that the light is used in those scenes, and on top of the water, that's probably my favorite parts of the cinematography, how it's shot. It uses, because a lot of it is virtual cinematography, obviously, but they do have sets that are set up with the lights to mimic how light is reflected within water. And I thought that was, it was phenomenal,
and on the boat reminded you of a horror movie.
Yeah,
like it was totally like zombies creeping up, surrounding you. I mean, I'm like, dude, this is Juan's element right here. This is it. Like, he was. And I remember hearing about him directing the film, and I'm like, wait, James Wan? Like a horror? And it's like, you could totally feel that influence right in these scenes, like the claustrophobia of those creatures, a trench closing in on him. I mean, before they got to the light and their flare goes out, I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Luckily, they made the light in time.
I wanted to bring up the guy's name. The director of photography is Don Bruges. Pardon me. He also shot. He has an extended career.
I was going to say, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, he shot Forrest Gump, Castaway, The Book of Eli, 42. Like, the guy's been around for quite a long time, and this is so different than all those other films, and I love the way that Forrest Gump is shot. I love the way that Castaway is. It got this similar feelings to that scene with the trench, where it's very frightening, very tight compression and everything. It's crazy how telling his career beforehand fed into this movie.
I mean, it's just shot gloriously, and he's got a heck of a track record.
Yeah,
I wasn't the biggest Book of Eli fan, but shit, it looks great. It's shot well.
It looked like the end.
Yeah,
the end of everything.
Yep. I mean, you felt like you were in post-apocalyptia. That's for sure.
With Denzel protecting me. I mean, come on. And he also did Flight, by the way, with Denzel Washington.
Oh, sweet. Yeah.
So this guy's he's an example.
Those shots, he does some good wides. That one with King Atlan, that was awesome.
Oh yeah, the one with King Atlan. I love the one where he's Aquaman is in the middle of the battle, and he like lifts his trident. He's like, yeah, my man's
so good. Yeah, the Kraken comes from beneath the earth, and just he's like standing on top of it with the trident. Like, what the hell? This is awesome.
Look, you know how legit this movie is? It got Aquaman riding a seahorse, and the whole theater went insane.
Yeah, right. Oh my God. It totally, you write that down on some paper and show it to somebody, a casual movie. What? You see it? Oh my God, you're loving it.
Yeah, I'm hyped. I'm like, where was he in the Battle of Mordor? You know what I mean? On that same seahorse.
Right. Needed, that's for sure.
uh, one thing that is significant about this film is that it is set after Justice League 2017. It's completely different than all the other, most of the other films in this catalog that we're going to be talking about through the series. It directly references the events of that film. So this does tie into one of the questions I had regarding to the Snyder Cut when it was announced, and that is, how does this tie into the universe, or now multiverse? What do you think?
So I think it'll kind of have the same effect a little, because Mira does meet with him and she's like, you defeated Steppenwolf, and I think that's still going to happen. So I look forward to that. It just makes me wonder, like, I think he's going to get a couple more scenes in this, kind of pondering his origin and who he really is. And also, like, give us a little bit more of that, the Aquaman that we got in the beginning of the film, kind of questioning Atlantis and what it actually is and whether he should actually return or not. Like, right. I'm hoping that this follows his psyche and where he's at before Aquaman, because he's kind of like, in the beginning of that movie, he's like, yo, these guys exiled my mother, executed my mother. So he had like a reason to never go down there. Yeah. And I would love a stronger conversation between him and Mira, because it was just so quick. And like in Justice League, he was just, nope, I'm not coming back. Like, I want him to like face her and say, they took my mother from me. Like, yeah. I need some lines. I need some strong lines. And I haven't seen the 2017 Justice League in a while, so maybe he does reference, but just a couple more stronger beats with him and Mira, and just a little bit more pondering of that origin, a little bit more time with that character, which wouldn't take away from the 2018 Aquaman. It wouldn't take away from any of that. So yeah, I would love to just explore where he's at that time, and not so much just the bro stuff. If Zach wants to keep that in, which he probably won't, fine. But it's like, give us a little bit more of Arthur and where he's at mentally right now.
Yeah, I agree. One worry that I did have about the Snyder Cut was that some of the stuff that would be in the film and featured heavily in the film regarding Aquaman, maybe even Wonder Woman, could be kind of redundant. That's one worry I did have, because we did have a movie heavily about his origin. You see the flashbacks, you see how it ties into the future and everything. It's like, I feel like those worries are justified, but I think what you said was a good way of looking at it, is that this is a different perspective. It's a different filmmaker completely. This was supposed to come out before Aquaman. So hopefully it can work in that order, hopefully there won't be too much. And I think Zack Snyder would probably realize that.
Right.
Because the movie did come out. So hopefully this could be a good exercise in knowing what to cut out of the film,
Yeah, hopefully so. And I know that there's gonna be like a battle between Steppenwolf and the Atlanteans. Looking forward to that. Like, get our Atlanteans, man. Like, oh, that's gonna be tight.
Yeah. Willem Dafoe.
And then also the Mascaran. I think there's gonna be an extended battle there. Like, let's do it. I'm ready.
A much darker and more bloody battle, which I'm very curious how that's going to, relay, especially in Atlantis, where you see the blood flowing throughout the water. Will there be sharks and stuff? How dark are we going into Atlantis?
Ooh, the depths.
Under the sea, as it were. Yeah, I'm very curious, and I'm hoping that the Snyder Cut does meet everyone's excitement. You know what I mean? Because no one wants to go into a film hating it. I feel like that's a waste of everyone's time. That has been a very prominent thing of like people saying, you got bias, you got this, you got that. It's like, look, let's just calm down. Let's watch the movie. You'll like it or you won't.
Right. Let's just all watch it. Let's watch it, review it, put the drama aside. Let's just watch it and go on. And I don't believe that there's anything different than this, but Justice League, this Zack Snyder's Justice League is going to take place before Aquaman, before all that. So I hope it won't actually change any continuity too much. Just be, instead of the Justice League we got in 2017, boom, we've got Zack Snyder's. And then if they do a 2, if they go with the 2, which I was a little gripey about, but if they do a second Justice League, give it back to Zack. Like, look, we did the same thing with Whedon with the first Avengers and then Age of Ultron. Give it back to Zack. Give it to somebody who actually seems to care about these characters and care about the progression of story and progressing the story in a way that could positively impact these characters.
Yeah, that's actually a really interesting point, is how the possibility of this movie, Zack Snyder's Justice League, making this world timeline make more sense, right? What if it does happen, where it's like the movie ends, and then, because it was supposed to come out that way, the movies after were planned with this movie in mind, but we got a different direction, obviously, to say it lightly, to be nice about it. So I'm very curious if when Zack Snyder's Justice League comes out, maybe it will make this universe make more sense, a
little tighter. Yeah. Like kind of coordinate things a little better. I'm hoping so, but it almost seems like it will come out and then it'll have like a Zack Snyder universe and then another concurrent. And I kind of hope that they just tie them together. Like, I don't really want to run another universe alongside and then you also have Flashpoint, which could potentially reset it all, a new Superman. So I kind of hope once the Zack Snyder's Justice League comes out, kind of ties everything all together in one timeline. Or if they want to split, am I going to complain? No, because I'm going to be there for everyone. But I kind of just hope after Zack Snyder's Justice League comes out, if they want to continue doing a Zack Snyder universe, just make it be in the DCEU continuity. Like, have the continuities running together. That would be great. I mean, I'm not going to complain at this point. Like, I've done some complaining, let me tell you. And if Zack Snyder's Justice League is great, hey, I'll be back for every installment.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I've felt the same way. I've been like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Before, but as the movie comes up closer, I'm just like, okay, show it to me. Just show it to me. Here I am doing these Woody noises like,
I mean, we've been waiting almost a year.
I know. Wow.
Because didn't this get announced? Like, this got announced when HBO Max dropped, like, not too soon after. And like, wow, this has been a journey.
It has been. I mean, we're on the journey right now. We're on the days of journey. We are nearing the Snyder Cut. And, it'll happen.
Yep.
Well, I think that's all, Leo. I mean, we both love Aquaman. Do you have any last opinions or thoughts regarding the film and the character's future in the Snyder Cut?
I'm just excited to get Aquaman 2. I'm very excited to see where this story progresses with more of Arthur, because there's going to have to be a conflict that comes up with him while being king of Atlantis. And I'm so curious as to how the relationship is going to differ when he's the king of Atlantis and the Justice League need him again. How is that relationship going to be different? Because there's definitely going to be less availability on his end as the king of Atlantis. This time he can't just pick up his motorcycle and go, hang out with the Justice League. Like, he's got to be a monarch. So it's going to be interesting to see the dynamic between king of Atlantis and the Justice League, as opposed to just an Atlantean man and the Justice League. I can't wait to see that dynamic. And I'm excited, man. I'm excited for the future of Aquaman, because after this nice rewatch, like, I was like, I might have been a little wrong about this before, because I liked it when I first saw it in theaters. I liked it. I didn't love it, though. And I sat back and watched this again, and I'm like, man, I don't know what it is, but with this, Man of Steel, a fresh watch really just changed it for me.
Yeah.
And it has rewatchability, a heavy rewatchable value. So I'm looking forward to the future of Aquaman. I can't wait. And I think in Zack Snyder's Justice League, we'll get some more perspective. I hope so.
Yeah, I completely agree. And he's definitely one of the things I'm looking forward to, especially after his own film. It's like, okay, give me some more. Give me some more. Wish he was wearing that cool ass orange costume, but you know, I'll take what I can get.
Right, that's how I felt, and I think that's why we were all kind of shaky about Momoa. We're like, what about the orange and green, like the trident, like?
And then he was like, "Oh, don't worry, boom, don't worry."
Right, bro, we here, boom.
Yeah. Of course, I would make it look good. Leo, it's been an absolute blast. Thank you so much for coming on this episode, on this
Hey, thank you for having me. Seriously, Julius, this has been a great conversation. I got to get you on the goods, man. We'll get you and Angel. We all need to just sit down and have a conversation, man. The GOAT Movie Podcast, you guys are doing some great things over here. I love the content you guys produce. I love your pitches, man. Like,
oh, man.
Keep at it, bro, because I'm loving them. So thank you so much. It's been an absolute honor to be on here, man. Like, seriously, I've loved you and Angel's content, and you guys just killing on YouTube, man. You guys are a great channel, and I love you guys as personalities, man. And you guys have great dynamic together too. So I'm looking forward to more live streams, more collaborations, and thank you so much for having me, my friend.
Oh my God, that excited me just now. Let's not end it, actually. Let's keep going.
Right, we got a couple more hours in us. Let's do it.
Oh my God. You know, what's funny is that after that live stream Angel did with you on your channel, he told me that after you guys ended, you said something like, "Man, that was a lot," and like, because it was how long was it? An hour and a half?
Yeah, I think it was a little over an hour. Yeah.
Okay, he told me, "Man, those guys were they felt that was long." Meanwhile, here we are doing like 3-hour podcast like this. We have a Batman versus Superman discussion that is going to be coming out on the day that it comes out. I think it's near 3 hours, honestly. So it's not for the faint of heart.
Well, hey, you know, it's a little easier on weekends, but on weekdays, you'd be kind of like, oh.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we made time to do this because it's been an absolute pleasure. Where can these audience members, these viewers, find your content?
Well, guys, you can find me over on YouTube, youtube.com/GeeklyGoods. Got a lot coming up in March. Zack Snyder's Justice League, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Godzilla vs. Kong. You'll find reviews for that on the channel, as well as reactions to episode of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So, guys, come on over. Julius, thank you for having me, my friend. It's been a pleasure.
Leo, I think you and I should remake The Falcon and Winter Soldier. You
with the shield.
Yeah, you can be Falcon. I'll be Winter Soldier.
Let's do it. Let's do it, Buck.
Let's do it, Buck. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure to share and like and all that YouTube stuff that you're used to. But however, I need you to do one more important thing for me, and that is subscribe. Because once you subscribe, we will get to our next goal of 10,000 subscribers. And once we get to 10,000 subscribers, we'll have enough people for an a journey to Atlantis. We can fund it finally. Okay, I messed that up, but I'll do better next time. How about that? Thank you guys for listening. I'm Julius. That was Leo. Stay safe and goodbye.